What's going on, guys? We're back again once again with round 4 of the Zelda Worlds Challenge. I am Eric, once again joined by Lou.
How is everybody doing? And we're getting straight into this match with is it Megathorn?
Megathorn
Is that how you
versus
say it?
Sotto Max.
We got Megathorn running a similar team to the team that Tommy Colleen used to take home a regional. I can't remember if the base form of the Ultra Necrozma on that
It
team is
was Dawn
the
Wings
same
on
one,
Tommy's team.
and this one it's the
Duskmane.
Duskmane, yeah. But turn one we see a protect and a switch into the Tapu Fini, or protect on the Duskmane and a switch into the Tapu Fini photo, resetting up the terrain as Kyogre takes that Moonblast, and Water Spout is able to take that Lele pretty much in the KO range from any attack that isn't Icy Wind from this Tapu Fini.
Yeah, we're going to see the, interestingly, no Groudon switch-ins here. However, you always got to be prepared for the Groudon switch-in. You always got to be careful with the Groudon switch-ins when facing Rayogre, because, that Rayquaza is just chilling in the back with the airlock, able to cancel out the Desolate Land. But, the longer that you leave Kyogre in here for free, the longer it's able to just click water moves and just decimate your entire team. As Rayquaza is going to switch in here, speak of the devil, as Necrozma is going to click Protect once again. As Lele is just going to go down after firing a couple Moonblasts into the Kyogre, and we're going to see Salamence come out now. Yeah, I'm very interested to see what this Necrozma is going to do. If it is just going to be the standard Duskmane form, or if it is going to have the ability to Ultra Burst later in the game. So, I mean, we haven't really seen it do much. We haven't really seen it do much so far. It's just kind of click Protect and Photon Geyser, which is pretty standard fare for a Necrozma.
I think it's actually in a position where maybe Ultra Bursting isn't ideal at this point in time, because Salamence obviously can just double edge into the Fini, and it doesn't need to Ultra and it takes attacks better from Rayquaza if it doesn't.
Oh,
But the fact that it's running
Dragon
Dragon
Pulse
Pulse is a big change, a big reveal there, as the Kyogre in the back is obviously in a pretty terrible position because it has such low health, and because of that, this Salamence that's on Megathorn's side incredibly valuable for sweeping this game, right? Because Salamence, of course, has like matchup against Rayquaza. Incineroar can't really hit Ments for much damage, and it can always just double edge the Kyogre. So at a point in time in the game where Salamence is really the wing con that Sotto Max is going to have to try to figure out how to play around, and he's trying to do it with this malicious Moonsault. Oh, it's actually going into the Ultra Necrozma as Switch, obviously probably standard to come out there from the Ultra Necrozma because it was Icy Winded, right? So it wants to reset its speed so that when it comes back in, it can outspeed and hit this Rayquaza.
Yeah, we're going to see the Protect Tailwind come out from Megathorn, as Salamence is going to be forced to take a Dragon Ascent there from Rayquaza, doing a lot of damage. This Rayquaza did not take any recoil, so its item is still relatively ambiguous, as, the Salamence is now going to be taken out by the U-turn, and this allows Megathorn to switch into Necrozma. However, Groudon here is kind of pinned because now we've seen both Lele and Salamence go down on Megathorn's side. So, Groudon had been pretty much being played forced to be playing defensive this entire game, is now in a situation where, yes, it has Tailwind up. However, it is staring down two of its least favorite opponents in Rayquaza and Kyogre. And
Yeah.
it remains to be seen what kind of work this Necrozma would be able to put into this match. But I don't know how much it's going to be able to do against these two Pokemon.
That Dragon Pulse reveal, you think it's pretty safe just to go for a Dragon Pulse Precipice Speeds in this situation, as he goes for double Protect there while he has Tailwind up. And it fails. I don't know. I'm not quite sure about that, because the Incineroar was able to come in for free, to just go for a Fake Out into the opposing Necrozma. The Lele's dead. It's down. Like, I think these are his last two mons. So now,
Yeah,
I was able to go for a Fake Out and a switch in the Kyogre, or a Fake Out and attack with the Salamence, as he wants to go for the Fake Out into Necrozma. Fire Punch, not going to be able to deal with this Groudon, as the Groudon goes down the Dragon Ascent. And I think at this point in time, the game's pretty much over, because lost any way to deal with this Incineroar. I mean, you can kill it with the Earth Power, but I mean, at that point in time, you're just taking too much damage. You can't deal with Ice Beam and Dragon Ascent at the same time here. I think that the Protect on the Groudon there really hurt him in the end, because you can imagine that no matter what, he was in a position where could win with like a Dragon Pulse P Blades. We're not quite sure about their spreads. Like maybe this Kyogre probably can live like a -1 P Blades. So maybe you could imagine that if he was reading the instant switch in, then you would have to Dragon Pulse and P Blades to kill the Kyogre. But in either case, I don't think going for the double protect there is going to be the play that you want. You could even go for maybe an Earth Power into the Necrozma, make that P Blade single target, and then take out the Kyogre even if you're at -1. But in either case, I just don't think that going for a double protect in that scenario is what you want to be doing while you're in Tailwinds, because all you're doing is giving the Incineroar the free switch in to and use its fake out pressure.
Yeah, very questionable play to go for that double protect there. And throughout that entire game, we didn't really see Groudon go for any attacking moves. Oh no, we saw Fire Punch. So we know that this Groudon at least is carrying a physical move. So that may indicate that pretty much confirms, I think, that it has Precipice Blades.
Definitely.
Yeah. We kind of just saw, yeah, Groudon could have been a really nice piece there to have in the end game, especially if he was able to remove Rayquaza. But Rayquaza kind of just sat there and clicked Dragon Ascent and switched it up to Extreme Speed later on. So Groudon really not really getting a chance to do anything in that match. And we now know that this Duskmane Necrozma turned Ultra Necrozma is going to be a special variant with Photon Geyser and Earth Power. Curious to see what that. Oh no, we saw Dragon Pulse. So yeah, we know it's 3 attack.
Yeah.
It's just 3 attacks, Ultra Necrozma.
I think also last game, set up the Tailwind with his Salamence, though I'm not sure if that was really needed, right? Because I think if he just got Salamence and Ultra Necrozma next to each other at the same time, that might have been enough offensive pressure to just take the game. Because I think even a -1 double edge still would have been enough to deal with the Kyogre, given the position it was in. But he was never able to get both of them out in the field at the same time and position them next to each other. Ended up losing his Groudon without doing too much damage. So I'm going to be interested to see in how he tries to approach this match a lot differently. I'm not quite sure. What were the leads last game? Oh, yeah, he led the Lele,
Yeah,
Ultra Necrozma,
Lele,
which
Ultra Necro, yeah.
it's typically one of the best leads that you can lead into Ryogre teams, right? It's typically what people refer to as one of the best ways to deal with Ryogre, being Lele and Ultra Necrozma. But Sotto Max here, wanting to go with that Incineroar Kyogre lead again. And the Stack Attacker coming out here. It's kind of a rough position to be in, leading Stack Attacker in the Kyogre. We're going to have to try to see a way that he's going to pivot around this here.
Yeah, this is I guess a more advantageous lead for Sotto Max because even though there's the Groudon switch in that's always possible, there's always the Rayquaza switch in on the opposite end. But Sotto Max not going for the Rayquaza switch in and instead is going to fire off the Z move into the Groudon as this allows Megathorn to get up the Trick Room with Stack Attacka.
Thing is, like, that looks bad. Like, oh no, he's water attacked into anything. Trick Room went up. He's still in a position where he can threaten both of these Mons with the Ray switch in. The wide guard reveal is huge. And that's actually why Stack Attacker is in this matchup, right? Because we saw last game the Origin Pulse coming out from Kyogre, so we know that has no single target water move. Even if the rain is up, there's no way that this Kyogre can use any of its water type attacks as long as Stack Attack is there hitting wide guard. But Sotto Max, leading into that, doesn't even go for the switch in the Ray and water move, and instead pivots into the Finian Ray, pivoting now back into Incineroar to cycle that fake out pressures. Rayquaza can get some damage off here if it wants. Instead, going for a Protect there from that Gyro Ball, though I think he might have missed an opportunity to try to get off some damage with maybe an Earth Power into that Groudon slot or into the Stack Attacker to clear up his Water Spout options for later.
Yeah, that it would have seemed in the early turns of the game that Megathorn was in an advantageous position because he was able to get that Groudon switch in on the Kyogre's water move without the Rayquaza coming in and getting up the free Trick Room. However, it doesn't seem too bad for Sotto Max right now because he was able to get the Intimidates off on the Stack Attacker, so now it's not going to be doing much damage. Groudon's already taken a ton of damage, so it's going to be KO'd rather easily once it comes back in, especially if it is a slower Groudon going up against something like Rayquaza and presumably we don't know exactly how fast this Kyogre is, but wow, that Flare Blitz critting the Necrozma is huge for Sotto Max, and as if things couldn't get any worse for Megathorn here. Yeah, Trick Room's going away in one more turn, Stack Attack is at half attack, Groudon's at less than half of its health, and Sotto Max is sitting pretty with pretty much his entire team at good health, minus Tapu Fini.
And because I was thinking that this turn almost definitely don't want to switch into the Rayquaza because he might just get double KO by the Speed Blades here. Ray was a relatively free switch in because it wouldn't even get intimidated because Ents would have been coming in last. But I think he's still okay with this position having Ray and Kyogre here. I'm kind of interested in what this Rayquaza set is. Like we saw Protect on it, right?
Yeah.
I think attack with no Life Orb either. I think that narrows down the sets to either 50% Berry or Focus Sash. Probably Focus Sash, but now we're in a position where the Rayquaza can just hit into the Groudon, Kyogre can Ice Beam into the Salamence. Instead, we see the Dragon Ascent into the Mence and an O-Pulse coming out, hitting the Groudon. Probably actually the better play, right? Because that just covers the stack attack as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even though you leave Megathorn with another Pokemon, which gives the ability to Groudon to keep pivoting in. I mean, if you're Sotto
Yeah.
Max, you don't really have to Mega Evolve your Rayquaza here because of that possibility. But even with that ability to pivot, Megathorn is still relatively pinned because his Groudon was at like minimal HP. And wow, that Dragon Ascent just able to pick up a clean one hit KO on that base form Salamence, and it's just gonna be Stack Attack versus the world here. And, considering that there's no Desolate Land, no potential for Wide Guard to really bail it out of this position, it's just looking like a GG here. And Sotomax looking to pick up the clean 2-0 sweep over Megathorn.
All around. I think Sotomax definitely took advantage of his positioning a lot better than Megathorn did in this match, mainly with his Incineroar, right? Because saw him cycling out his Intimidate multiple times to neuter off the stack attacker's damage that it could use. We saw Megathorn have some good plays here and there, with the Groudon switch in, the Trick Room going up, the Wide Guard plays to wall off the Kyogre. But the key here was Sotomax didn't waste turns. The only quote unquote wasted turn was the when he water spouted as the Groudon switch in. But even that turn, I don't even see as a waste because the fact that he went for the water type move forced the Groudon switch to have to come in. So when the Groudon switches have to come in, then he's also in a position in Trick Room where Stack Attack is forced to Wide Guard. Now, when the Stack Attack is forced to Wide Guard, it makes it a lot easier for him to pivot around into his Incineroar, Cycle Intimidates, and that as well. So I think Sotomax did a really good job at just staying one step ahead of Megathorn this entire game and kind of forcing Megathorn to react to his positioning instead of the other way around, which when you're running Lele Ultra Necrozma, normally what you want is your Lele and Ultra Necrozma to be forcing your opponent to have to play defensively around you, not the other way around. Of course, that Flare Blitz crit coming into huge effect there. Though honestly, going for the Flare Blitz there is a bit of a read because you could imagine that if you're expecting the Ultra Burst to happen, the Flare Blitz wouldn't do any damage. So you'd probably expect a Dark Move going into that slot anyways, which with a crit, Dark Move probably wouldn't be killing the base form Necrozma Duskmane. But just really, really fine, nuanced plays there. And a critical hit, of course, coming into huge factor.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. How Sotomax pretty much made Megathorn play his game, and that ability just to control the positioning there. Even though Megathorn got into a really good position, a seemingly very good position in game two, that was clearly not a good enough position, even with Groudon under Trick Room, to beat Sotomax's team. Is even though in the late game you saw that Megathorn was able to pick up those 2 KOs, Rayquaza and Kyogre in the end game just kind of came in and cleaned up shop here. Yeah, you'd think that that such an offensive team like this would be able to kind of get the upper hand in the early game, but we didn't really see that. We saw more passive plays coming out from Megathorn, and as you pointed out, that we saw Megathorn having to react a lot to Sotomax's game plan. So I don't think that's the way that the team is meant to be played. So having these hyper offensive teams having to play off the back foot, it makes the matchup pretty disadvantageous for Megathorn there.
I think a part of a consequence of that also is bringing the stack attacker, right? Because that's normally how you're going to be playing with stack attacker. You have to position it carefully to avoid any earth powers, to use it to set up Trick Room and then do your work in Trick Room. I think maybe just going with the size spam mode against Rayogre especially probably was just going to be giving him a better mode to try to win the game anyways, like we saw in game one. Because as we saw in game one, he was able to control the tempo a little bit better himself a lot better chances to win the game. But with the stack attacker, I mean, it doesn't do a lot of damage to Kyogre. I mean, you can understand why he wants to bring it though, right? Because Wide Guard completely Kyogre. But even if you have Wide Guard or Walls news Kyogre, but even if you're doing that, Rayquaza is still a huge threat, right? Groudon can't really touch the Rayquaza. If Finny has Scald, because I mean we weren't able to see that. Actually ended up seeing Moonblast, so most likely Finny doesn't have Scald. I mean, even with the Wide Guard, I think that there just isn't enough. There isn't enough pressure that Stack Attacker brings. There's no way that you can really be out positioning Kyogre in that matchup. A position-based archetype in a position team versus a hyper offensive-based archetype. I think playing more to his strengths there would have been a little bit more beneficial.
Yeah, definitely a rough time. A rough time there for Megathorn, but I think that's the only match we have to feature for this round. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back for the 5th round of the Zelda World Championship Challenge.